When you learn about motivation at work, you'll hear the terms intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. And you might also hear that intrinsic motivation is in some way better than extrinsic motivation. So in this video, I want to answer the question, what are intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation? And is one a little better than the other? Motivation, in the psychological context, is a desire or an impulse or a drive to do something, or to not do something. It manifests as if it is some kind of force upon us, and it's often described as a drive towards or away from some goal or objective. An important role for any leader is to provide the motivation for their team members to do their very best work. And there are many different things that motivate human beings. Different motivators will be effective for different people, in different contexts and different circumstances, and at different times. A skilled leader, of course, will be able to identify what will best motivate each of their team members at each point in time. By selecting the right motivator, they can get the best out of each team member, and by shifting the way they use motivation, they can shift to accommodate the different needs of team members as the project progresses. And of course, it's worth noting that motivation is harder in times of adversity. Times when the team is, for example, exhausted, or frustrated, or upset, or angry, stressed, or fearful, or bored, or antagonistic towards either the project, the organisation, or other team members. I have a whole course on motivation that is available free on the sister YouTube channel to this one. It's called Motivation, and it covers all the different things that will motivate us and also the mechanisms by which we are motivated. I'll put a link to it in the description to this video. However, all of the different motivators that I talk about in that course can be grouped together in one of two categories, either extrinsic motivation or intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation arises from motivators that lie outside of ourselves. That means that the effects that drive us are not part of us. Positive extrinsic motivators include things like praise and recognition, awards and rewards, promotion and remuneration. There are also negative extrinsic motivators like reprimands and rejection, penalties and fines, losing a competition and demotion. Intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation arises from internal motivators that are a product of our own emotional changes. That is, the things that drive us arise inside ourselves. Positive intrinsic motivators include things like pride, fulfillment and satisfaction, enjoyment and pleasure, challenge and fascination. Negative intrinsic motivators include things like fear and anxiety, hostility and dislike, envy and contempt, and aggression or guilt. Often we think about intrinsic motivators as being doing things for their own sake without some kind of a reward. However, that's not quite right, because of course with intrinsic motivators there is a reward. It's just an emotional or psychological reward, a payoff in terms of feeling good. The difference, of course, is that this reward has no material value. We can't transact that reward with someone else, should we choose to. It can seem like intrinsic motivation is evidently better than extrinsic motivation, and it certainly is in many circumstances. Experiments show that if you offer too much extrinsic motivation for an activity which is inherently rewarding, then it feels like that activity is now being done for the reward and diminishes the overall motivation. This is why, in some contexts, financial rewards for work done actually disincentivize workers. However, each form of motivation has huge value in the right contexts. We need to avoid substantial extrinsic motivation where people are already intrinsically motivated. This can turn a pleasurable experience into the feeling that we're working for a reward. However, where people are resistant, extrinsic motivators can give them the push they need to get the job done. You can also use extrinsic motivators as rewards that send signals of approval. This acts as positive feedback that reinforces desirable behaviour. However, the best extrinsic motivators also trigger internal motivation systems. Things like praise and recognition. They are extrinsic motivators because they come from outside us, but the real value of them is the way that they make us feel. And of course, the great thing about praise and recognition for us as project managers is these are a reward mechanism that we will never run out of. If you've enjoyed this video or you've learned from it, please give this video a like to provide me with a little extrinsic motivation. And please do subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of the other videos I create. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.